Okay, we are live.
Thank you. We have 1 minute to go. Seems like a very long minute. There we go. Good evening and welcome to the May 25th regular council meeting. Due to COVID-19 and recommendations by Waterloo Region Public Health to exercise social distancing and public gathering thresholds, Township Council meetings are currently being held electronically. Members of the public have been provided with the following methods to watch and/or participate in this meeting electronically today. Watch the live stream on YouTube by accessing the meeting through the Township's website. You do not need a YouTube account to watch the live stream. You cannot directly participate in the meeting via the live stream, as this is for viewing only. Next, members of the public interested in attending as an observer or wish to speak to an item listed under item 7, items for discussion, were required to submit the request in writing to the Clerk's Division before 7 p.m. on May 24th. A link and telephone number has been provided to those who registered before the registration deadline. And lastly, in accordance with the Township Procedural Bylaw, members of the public are not able to verbally speak to all items on the regular council agenda. Members of the public may only verbally speak to the items listed under item 7 exclusively, but may submit their comments in writing for all other items. Members of the public were invited to submit written comments to the Clerk's Division, which were provided to the mayor and council prior to the meeting and will form part of the public record. I'd now like to call the meeting to order, and I'd like the approval of the agenda, please.
Moved by Councillor Rolleman, seconded by Councillor Gillespie, that council adopt the May 25th, 2021 regular council agenda as presented with the following addendums. 1, add item 7.9, report number PD-34-2021, amendment to a pre-servicing agreement 8021788 Ontario Corporations, Walter Bruce, 869 Brant Waterloo Road. 2, add item 7.10, correspondence received from Amanda Cahan requesting a three-way stop crossing lights at the intersection of Northumberland Street and Broome Street. 3, add item 7.11, report number BLD-03-2021, amendment to a conditional building permit agreement, Teco Block Manufacturing Processing Facility, Cedar Creek Road. And 4, add item 12.7, bylaw number 3254-21, being a bylaw to authorize the amendment to a pre-servicing agreement, underground services between 20811788 Ontario Corporation and the Township of North Dumfries. Mayor Foxton, your vote for that?
Yes.
Councillor Rolleman?
Yes.
Councillor Ossner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
That carries.
Thank you. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Councillor Rolleman.
Yes, with item 7.5 to deal with the Indulge. One of my companies does business with Indulge, and I've filed the paperwork with the clerk.
Thank you. And then we will move on to, if there's none others, we will now move on to Jared Bellamy with the Air Skateboard Committee regarding a proposal for an asphalt pump track facility in Air. Jeremy. Jared, I'm sorry, Jared.
All right, thank you. Let me see if I can pull up my PowerPoint. Oh. It's asking me for permissions, of course.
Cynthia, can you take care of this, please?
Oh, I may have to go Yes, with one of you showing the PowerPoint there, sorry.
Does Cynthia have it, Ashley? I thought she
Yes.
said she did.
Yes.
We should have it, yes.
Thank you.
Oh. Actually, can you see it now?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Is that full screen?
Yep.
There we go. All right. So yes, thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. I'm sure many of you remember me from the skate park committee. I'm hoping you've all had a chance to stop by that facility and check it out and see what a wonderful success it is, and with the huge participation rates we're seeing with it. And now that that project is basically complete, I'd like to take the momentum we built with that project and bring it into another one to serve our community, and this time with a asphalt surface pump track. So it's gonna be fairly similar to what I presented, I believe it was February of 2020. So a pump track is a short circuit of rolling jumps and berm corners designed for all things on wheels. It promotes a healthy, active outdoor lifestyle. It's an individual self-directed sport, and you get a long season of use for a facility like this outside. So our goal with this project is to have it built a 15,000 square foot multi-use asphalt surface track with a design quality that could host a world championship qualifying event. I'll touch on the whole competition bit of this later on. So why asphalt? You could also build pump tracks out of dirt. So the big benefit here is minimal maintenance. With dirt, you get considerable erosion with use as well as with rain. So where asphalt, you won't have that. It's much safer. You get a long service life. It's very economical, much more flexible than concrete. And it extends the season of use where if it rains, stops raining, you can ride it right away. Where with dirt, you got a mud puddle you got to try and deal with and let it dry out. So one of the big benefits with pump tracks versus something like a skate park is the construction is much simpler. It can be done basically within a month versus the 6 months or whatever it was that our skate park ended up being. So there are a number of pump tracks around. Chicopee Ski Hill, Riverside Bike Park in Cambridge, McLennan Bike Park in Kitchener, Rotary Bike Park in Brantford, Stratford has an asphalt track. There's an asphalt one in Tillsonburg. But it's one of those things that's starting to pop up everywhere. Toronto has them. Windsor just had a really nice asphalt one done by Velo Solutions. Sault Ste. Marie, Hamilton, Beamsville, they're everywhere. It's kind of like skate parks where they're the new thing that's starting to pop up for this user group. But sort of the premier one that I really want to touch on was constructed in Uxbridge. And this is basically what we're trying to shoot for, our goal here. It was built by Velo Solutions. They're the leader in the design and build of these facilities. So it's very high quality, large flowing design. It's about 20,000 square feet, so maybe a little bit larger than what we're shooting for. And it was in the $300,000 to $400,000 budget. So looking at demand, the pump tracks have a wide range of users, anywhere from 2 to 60 plus. A quality facility like this will bring users to the area, bringing money into the community. And this has been seen with the pump track now. The number of times that I was up there, see new faces, talk to people, ask where they're coming from. There's people coming from all over, London, Ingersoll. I think I saw one guy from Sarnia or something that stopped in on his way through, kind of thing. So word travels fast, and when you have a quality facility, people come, and that's great. It brings people to our community. So back when I started this, did an online petition, and it got 321 signatures with a lot of great comments. People want to see something like this in town. So there's definitely demand, and would definitely get a lot of use. So I'm really pushing that this is another outlet for our kids to be active in a self-driven sport. With technology and screens and everything else, we need more things to get our kids outside off screens and active. And this would be another fantastic way to do so. So this is one of those items that it's much like a skate park where it's outside, it's free, there's no access, there's no league fees, there's no registration. Most kids have a bike or a scooter or a skateboard and a helmet. So versus hockey, soccer, baseball, they all have registration and fees. You can go ride a pump track for free for the lifetime of the facility. So not having that barrier of fees involved really helps improve utilization. So I mentioned pump track racing. So there is actually a UCI, which is a world sanctioning body for bicycle racing, has a world championship sanctioned series for a pump track racing. Last year, Uxbridge was supposed to host an event, but with COVID, it got canceled. I'm not sure whether it's been rescheduled or not, but I do hope to participate in that myself, actually. So, these events, each one, the winner of the event in the men's and women's disciplines get a all expenses paid trip to the world final, wherever it actually is that year. I'm not exactly sure where it is this year. So it would definitely draw a whole lot of people from surrounding areas of Ontario, even into the States, once all that opens up. So the location we're recommending is at Schmidt Park. So it has the space available that we need. It's a nice central location to the South End developments, to the school, to the fire hall. There's the existing facilities, and now there's the whole tennis court and pickleball court and playground proposed for this site, which only I think enhances how ideal of a location this is. The other location that was in consideration was the Brews Future Park, but that's just likely too far out timeline wise. So we're not really promoting this option, sticking with Schmidt Park. So I mentioned the costs, targeting around $300,000 for design build. As I said, Uxbridge was a little more than that. A bit of their breakdown there from the service clubs, Trillium, and their local township. And then looking at a business plan into things. So I broke down how the fundraising for the skate park ended up working out and tried to match that up similarly here. Now the big sort of point to note is the cost is all going to depend on, of course, the design, the layout, the size, which is all determined by the location and how that design works out. And then you also factor in the in-kind materials and equipment. And so we have Coco Paving that's in New Dundee, and I had reached out to them previously, and there was interest there in offering a discount. So that would help greatly. And with the skate park project, we learned a lot in this whole process and built a number of relationships with sponsors and donors and grants that we can apply for. So taking that knowledge and applying it to the pump track would help expedite this process. So the next steps, asking council for commitment to protect the land at Schmidt Park for this project, and then to collaborate with the township staff on the design and budget and work through the possibilities of how to bring this to completion. And again, our knowledge from the skate park project will definitely apply to this similar project. And that completes my presentation.
Cynthia, can you shut it down, please?
Stop share.
Thank you. Questions or comments from council? I see Councilor Rollerman, Councilor Rollerman, then Councilor Gillespie. Councilor Rollerman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thanks, Jared, for the presentation. I think when you were here last time, I think we said we were generally in support of this idea. It's just a question of location. So whether it's Schmidt Park or whether it's that new park in Brews, I think having it in the south end would be great, near all the families, near all the kids. We already have the skate park in the north end, so this would be another destination to go to. I'm just wondering, and maybe Karen Winter can answer this. I'm wondering how this shoehorns in with our leisure services master plan. Is this something that would be part of that master plan? Is something that would come out of the staff recommendation? Just wondering what the process would be.
So sure, through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Woolman, it could be part of the Leisure Master Plan. It's very similar. We talked about this before about the pool and also about the twinning of the NDCC. We don't want to guide people in there. We want the community to recommend what they think would be a better project. So that's the concept of the Leisure Master Plan, is to leave it wide open and let the community determine what they feel. So, you know, by asking them, do they want a pump track? You'll have the community people that say yes. You say, do you want a pool? You don't want that. You want to say, what does everybody want, and let them just have their own input.
Councillor, are you done, Councillor Vogelman? Councillor Gillespie.
Yeah, yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. I think when we were here on February 2020, we talked, Jared, about you coming to the Leisure and Lifestyle Committee. Now, because of COVID, we got kind of backed up and we didn't have meetings for quite a while. But I would like to suggest that you still do that, because I think my committee would really like to hear about it. Our next meeting is June the 16th. If you could arrange to do your presentation there. I asked Ms. Winter if she had known anything about it, and she didn't. So it seems you just went to the CAO and no one else. So I think I'd really like you to come to the committee and explain it there, because there were questions about the skate park last time. How come we sponsored or, you know, helped out with the skate park without anyone knowing on the committee either?
Sure. I would be more than happy to talk to the Leisure Committee.
Okay.
Thank you. Any
Well-
other questions? Councillors, I see Councillor McCreary's hand.
Thank you for your presentation, Jarrett. Looks like a great idea. The question I have, I think, is really directed to either CAO McNeely or our treasurer, Christina Brox. I'm just wondering about wrapping up the skate park project. We haven't at this point, or council at this point hasn't seen a final accounting for that project. So I'm wondering if all our pledges have been received for that project, and did we get all the materials in kind that we were expecting, and did we stay within our budget on that project?
CEO McNeely.
Madam Mayor, through to Councillor McCreary, yes, we did stay within the established budget envelope that Council put forward. No, we have not received all pledges. There are 2 outstanding, and reminder letters have been sent out to those 2 entities. No, we did not receive at the final analysis all the listing of in-kind services when we went out to the marketplace, because we had to compare those commitments versus what the marketplace would actually pay for those services or products. Some of those original pledges exceeded what the marketplace was able to provide. So we were actually, at the end of the day, I apologize, can't remember whether it was 3 or 4 vendors we actually signed contracts with, and they would have received credits through CRA for the balance of the discount. And there will be a report coming to council on June the 14th. We're expecting one more round of invoices from our consultant team because there were deficiency works, warranty works that were completed in terms of providing a list to the contractor this spring. And so we're still waiting on that last invoice, but that's the last outstanding cost attributed to this project.
Thank you.
And we have Councillor Oster.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to Karen. Just a quick question about the leisure master plan, for example. You were saying you didn't, we don't want to guide people into believing what projects we want. Excuse me. However, I think a lot of people might not think beyond the basics. I mean, I don't want to get another lifestyle leisure plan that says, you know, another soccer field, another baseball field, another arena, stuff like that. I want people to think outside of the box when it comes to services. And when you have a project like the pump track that has come, I'm thinking a lot of people go, oh yeah, pump track. Yeah, I never thought about that. You know, that would be a great idea. It would be nice if we can incorporate some broad range facilities that other township municipalities may have. And I think that would broaden the horizons of people that are going to respond to this. I just don't want to waste all this time and money on a plan where people are just going to look at, hey, it'd be great to have a soccer field down here so my kids don't have to go up here, or it'd be great if we had a baseball diamond, or pool in the north end, pool in the south, like I don't want this to be a 3-ring circus. It'd be nice to have an option of different things so that people can think about it, because to be honest with you, I would have never thought of a pump track until Jarrett brought that up. I wouldn't have thought of the magnitude of the skate park, which we accomplished, if Jarrett wouldn't have brought that up. So I think that it would help me personally in my decision making if there were a little bit of, like, you don't want to take them down the road, but a little bit of guidance might help a little, might help.
So,
I'm seeing no other speakers. Go ahead, Karen.
sorry, through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Oster. I agree with you, and that is the whole premise of hiring the consultants to help us with that. And once we begin the process, they will engage with all of the councillors. And I think that's where you're going to be able to provide your input and your comments about what your thoughts are. Again, I just don't want to lead everybody into something that, half a dozen people really, really want, and then they put the idea forward. It needs to be all encompassing. So I know where you're going, and I think we will get to the same place.
Understood. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councillor Roman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have 2 questions for Jarrett relating to the skate park and the pump track. I'm wondering, does a pump track, is it able to coexist with a skate park, or does it take people away from the skate park? Are we going to see a decrease in people using the skate park in favor of the pump track? And the second question I have for you, Jarrett, is how did you arrive at the 15,000 square foot size configuration? Because I know there's lots of different sizes of pump tracks. Is that just a guesstimate, or is it based on something? Thanks.
So the size is basically looking at what area we have potentially to work with, as well as comparing to other facilities that are of what the user groups consider of a high quality in a well-built pump track. So in comparison, in preparing all my information, you want to have some sort of an idea on the size that we're targeting. So just basically by comparing other facilities and saying this is of a good size and should be able to fit where we're looking at, and that's where the number sort of came from. And then as far as the user group, it's a very similar user group, but I would say the pump track is even wider, where your barrier to entry, where the skate park may be a little aggressive for older, younger, more inexperienced riders, where this would be the first stepping stone where you can go and build skills that you would transfer to the skate park and back and forth. And the big thing really is variety. You don't want to ride the same thing all day, every day, forever. You can switch it up, ride one facility, go to the other. And given these COVID times, there'd be some benefit to reducing some of the crowding, increasing safety. So I don't think they totally coexist. There's a number of them that are on the same site with a pump track side by side to a skate park. So I think they work well together. But I think in our application, it would be nice to split them up to better serve our entire community.
Seeing no other hands, just a few comments I'd like to make, if I may. Jared, excellent presentation. I have 2 of the mayors that have put up pump tracks in their municipalities. One is Uxbridge, Dave Barton, and the other is Sandra Easton from Lincoln. they say they get 60 and 70-year-olds on these things. They
Yeah.
say they're very active all the time and they're well used and no regrets. Again, your price range was from 2020, I believe, or even before that. Dave's was built 19, wasn't it 2019? Because it was open just before COVID. And I wonder how prices change, but that's something to look at. The master plan, Karen, if I may, Schmidt Park, Quiet Nature designed an active Schmidt Park for us. You have that plan. It gave different things. It gave an amphitheater put into Schmidt Park. It gave nature learning centers. It gave outdoor yoga, different types of adult playgrounds and activities. So Councillor Ostner is absolutely correct. People will only think of what is in their face. Ball, hockey, that's what we think. But somebody can expand our mind, and that's what I'm hoping that master plan will do, and allow us not to just be followers, but leaders in the recreation, and also touch all levels of recreation, from the very youngest to the very old, and make sure that recreation, it doesn't always have to be running 200 miles an hour. There's all kinds of recreations, and to provide that would be a wonderful thing. So if there are no other questions, would you read the resolution, Ms. H, and read it slowly and carefully, the 3 sentences, so people understand what we're exactly stating?
Certainly. Moved by Councillor Ostner, seconded by Councillor Gillespie, that the delegation from Jared Bellamy on a proposed asphalt pump track facility be received with thanks, and that staff be directed to assess possible locations or venues to support an asphalt pump track facility and report back to a future council meeting. And that the presentation from Mr. Bellamy be forwarded for inclusion in the preparation and analysis of the Leisure Services Master Plan study. Mayor Foxton, your vote?
Yes.
Councillor Rollman?
Yes.
Councillor Oster?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
That carries.
Thank you, and thank you, Jared.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Are we ready?
Yes.
Thank you. And next, we'd like to welcome Lisa Short, Catherine Cressman, and Patrick Gaskin, and Cambridge Memorial Hospital Foundation. And also, I believe Dave Piper is here, regarding an update on activities of the hospital and the foundation and Cambridge Memorial Hospital Foundation support in 2022. Good evening, folks. And
Thank
who's putting on the presentation? Or Patrick, you can take it away.
No, I'm going to start, please. I'm going to introduce, okay?
Catherine, go ahead, Kate.
For those of you who don't know me, I am Kate Cressman, the chair of the current chair of the Cambridge Memorial Hospital Foundation Board. Mayor Foxton, Councillors Gillespie, McCreary, Ostner, and Rolleman, and also Andrew McNeely, our CAO, and all other guests. It is a sincere honor to welcome our 2 distinguished leaders from our local hospital, Cambridge Memorial Hospital. Lisa Short is our executive director from the foundation, and Patrick Gaskin, president and CEO of Cambridge Memorial Hospital. And I know they are both well known to all of you. Go ahead, folks. I was told to be quick.
Good stuff. Can you see my screen?
We can see you, Lisa, not your presentation.
Really? Okay. Well, I pride myself on getting this right on the first try, so I'm not quite sure there. Just a moment. Huh.
Cynthia has it. Would you like her to do it for you, Lisa?
Well, unless I beat her to it, that'd be great. Thank you, Sue. Mayor Foxton.
Go ahead, Cynthia, please.
Interesting.
Cynthia, we have a blank screen. There we go.
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you, Mayor Foxton and members of Township Council for allowing Patrick and I to provide an update on our hospital and certainly to share the impact of the gift, your gift. Thank you very
Lisa,
much.
if I can just interrupt for a second, the person in the middle is an Air resident. With the red-
Really?
That's right.
Oh, that's cool. And how did you know that? You saw the community report
She lives around the corner.
and you recognize her even in a
That's
mask.
right. That's right.
That's impressive. Good stuff. If we can go to the next slide, members of council, the gift from North Dumfries Township to the We Care CMH campaign helped us realize our campaign goal to raise $10 million. More importantly, your generosity has placed life-saving equipment in the hands of our caring physicians, surgeons, and staff. From highly specialized patients' beds that reduce the incidence of bed sores to vital sign monitors, scopes, baby bassinets, and dialysis equipment. All of the equipment within our hospital is due to the generosity of community and donors like you. These tools offer our patients the quality of care that they come to expect in their own community. Today, we are pleased to report back on the impact of your gift, a few highlights of the past year, and our plans for the future of local healthcare. In 2016, the present chairs of the hospital and the foundation, David Piper and Kate Crespin, asked council to consider a donation towards a $500,000 fundraising drive they were leading to support CMH with redevelopment. Council responded favorably with a $100,000 donation. By the end of 2019, after many face-to-face requests, several fundraising dinner and annual ham suppers, more than $2.6 million had been donated to the We Care campaign by North Dumfries donors, accounting for 26% of the total campaign. In an emergency department waiting room, a Riverview classroom, and an upcoming CT waiting area will all be named to honor the generosity of North Dumfries residents. There is no doubt that the leadership of this group inspired others in the community to give. Your pledge to the We Care CMH North Dumfries campaign will be completed this year. We proudly celebrate and honor this gift on our new donor wall in the public lobby of Wing A. You likely recall our message about community donations funding 100% of the patient equipment in our hospital. The hospital has asked that the foundation for an investment of $5 million annually in the coming years. Fundraising has been affected significantly over the past year, and we continue to adapt and try to find new approaches. Our goal is always to support our hospital to ensure our medical staff continue to have the best tools available to care for our patients. Some of you will have met this young family at our CMH Reveal event in January last year. Parents Tom and Alicia, as well as Dr. Eugenio, the Chief of Emergency, recounted the pivotal hospital visit that inspired their gratitude for their care that they received, as their healthy baby, Cohen, was delivered prematurely. Cohen will be celebrating his second birthday this summer. I'll turn it over to Patrick.
Super. It's so great to be with you, Mayor Foxton and councillors. It's just an honor to be with you. And I hope you don't do that pump truck, because I'm building one in the parking lot here. That was an amazing presentation and so exciting. Sorry, I just had to say that. That was so cool. I'm going to put one in the parking lot. That's fantastic. And I love the progressive thinking of this council. Remember January 2020, where we celebrated the opening of the Wing A? What a great time when we got together and shook hands and touched and shared food together for that. And just welcome to the community. I can't speak enough about the impact that your investment in Wing A has had for that. So you think about the single occupancy cubicles in the emergency department. You think about the negative air pressure room that we have throughout Wing A. You think about this, the private single occupancy rooms we have in most of the programs, and minimal ward rooms. And you think about just the size of the facility to be able to cope and support our community. And we have a comment there from one of our grateful patients, but I wanted to share with you, just in the most recent weeks, we've been taking patients from the GTA, and I want to talk about what your investment has had for residents beyond Cambridge North Dumfries. And I'll read you just a quote. Thank you for, we reach out proactively to people who are transferred here from the GTA, so they know who we are, and we start to introduce them to the hospital. And this is what they wrote back. Thank you for reaching out to us. We have 4 family members with COVID in 4 different hospitals. Knowing that they're being taken care of at Cambridge Memorial Hospital puts our mind at ease. And so the impact of this disease, as you know, is just horrible. And so the part that we do for our community, but beyond our community, is because of your investment. I'll take the next slide. A foundational is, we have a building, but beyond a building, we have amazing staff and leaders that have done a fantastic work. And what we have seen is the physician community stepping forward to support COVID, and so critical. Pictured there is Winnie Lee, and together, Dr. Lee, Dr. Nuri, and Dr. Ball were all honored by the Chamber of Commerce for their work in healthcare in 2020 as it relates to the pandemic. And so in terms of Winnie working across the jurisdictions, even getting us masks at the early days, for that, to Dr. Nuri, who's an infectious disease expert, and working with the hospital and with community agencies to make sure infection prevention control practices are top notch. And Dr. Ball, who even last week was vaccinating people in our community. So, just really speaks to the leadership, and you should take great comfort in the leadership. On the next slide, I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Asim Moussaoud. Dr. Moussaoud is our Chief of Staff and our Vice President of Medical Affairs. Asim comes to us from William Osler, and he's an emergency physician, so he's got experience at William Osler as being the Chief Medical Information Officer, and he comes as an emergency physician and as our physician chief leader. And he's brought his knowledge and expertise and his passion for community healthcare to our community, and we're so grateful to have him as part of it. I'll pass back to Lisa for the next couple of slides.
Yes, thank you. Well, we wanted to share a little bit about the tremendous outpouring of support from the community when the pandemic began. So we've put some pictures together. When news came out of the PPE shortages, we received hundreds of masks, donations of gloves and hand sanitizers for our staff to use. Community volunteers drummed up donations and rallied with Chef D to feed the front line, and provided 4 lunches in those early days for our staff. No small feat, with 800 people at a sitting, for sure. The Cambridge mask makers set up distribution networks in the community and donated thousands of sewn masks for the hospital. And I think there's some folks on this call that might have been sewing some of those masks. Painted rocks with messages of thanks, signs for healthcare workers, pots banged, drive-bys, entire classrooms of children sent notes of thanks. There are so many heartwarming signs of appreciation. We also received a donation of 10 iPads from the Waterloo Region 100 Women Who Care, accelerating our ability to connect virtually and facilitate Zoom calls between patients and families. We've begun to play the song "Here Comes the Sun" throughout the hospital when COVID patients are discharged, which is quite uplifting for everyone here at the hospital to hear.
And they played that song when Lisa and I were together today, actually, in preparation for those. And it puts a smile on your face to know. It's hard to boil down in a minute the work associated over the last year. But just to give you a sense of it, we have expanded our medicine capacity. So we've added approximately 30 new medicine beds in order to meet the capacity needs. We have almost doubled our intensive care unit. So we normally have 12 beds. And now we are operating at 22 beds and staffing those. We're staffing those with redeployed staff from our surgical area. So we have reduced our surgeries, as you may know, in order to be able to meet the capacity. And right now we continue to support the needs of the GTA and our local needs with this additional capacity. We've opened up a COVID assessment center, almost a year ago. We've supported the vaccination efforts that are going on as well for that. So it has been, for the last 15 months, an incredible effort across the organization, not only the physicians I spoke about earlier, but all of the staff across the organization. And on the next slide, as we talk about, well, what's next for us for that? So we're not finished. As you may remember, we have done the new wing in Wing A, but we need to go back and make Wing B as beautiful as Wing A for that. So the major redevelopment, we have Ellis Dawn signed and on board and actually working right now in terms of the work associated with it. We will fully decant Wing B in the coming months. We'll, in other words, completely vacate all the inpatient units and move to Wing C for that, while we do a major renovation of Wing B, and that will allow us to expand, as we put on the screen, a number of our programs and services. At the end of the day, when we're finished in about 4+ years, a brand new hospital, as we've always described it for that. And thanks again to the investment that you have made for us. And with that, I will pass it back to Lisa, I think, for the last slide.
Yeah, the last couple of slides, just wanted to share with all of you how we're going to promote the hospital in the coming months and keep people engaged and learning about all of the great things going on at CMH. And so what's next for our foundation is caring programs. We've developed caring programs as a way to educate and inspire the community about the scope of programs available at CMH and the exceptional people, of course, that deliver them. Our goal is to continue to share with the community in the coming years in order to keep this momentum going and this support from the community that we're so grateful for. In closing, because of you, Cambridge Memorial Hospital has a bright future. It is our hope that you will continue to make a tremendous difference in the lives of others by continuing your support. Specifically, we hope that you may consider extending your pledge to CMH for an additional few years. Thank you, Mayor Foxton and Council, for an opportunity to report back to you on your investment and our work. And I think I would say in closing that despite the pandemic, there are a lot of things to celebrate and a lot to be grateful for. Thank you.
Thank you, one and all. Councilors, any questions? I don't see anyone's hand up. Just a comment tonight, before when Lisa was testing her mic, I told her on page 120 of our agenda, yes, 120, is petitions from different municipalities to the provincial government insisting they pay for equipping hospitals. And this is going through all the municipalities, and I will ask our council to discuss this tonight. But I think it's a marvelous idea, and it's about time that we got. And you're taking patients from Toronto proves the point. A hospital is never for the community, for just the community. It's for whoever passes through it or whatever need comes up. Hospitals are universal, and therefore they should come out of provincial funding to equip them properly to deal with the ages. But that's another discussion council will have later. And I want to thank you. And if there's no questions, can I have the resolution, please, Ashley?
Yes, so moved by Councillor McCreary, seconded by Councillor Rollman, that the delegation from the Cambridge Memorial Hospital Foundation be received with thanks, and that the request for the continued financial support to the Hospital Foundation through the acquisition of equipment and medical devices be referred to the 2022 budget deliberations. Mayor Foxton, your vote for that?
Yes.
Councillor Rollman?
Yes.
Councillor Oster?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
That carries.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And Lisa, pull those, you'll see the municipalities. It's on the report on our agenda. So if
Yes.
you pull our agenda, and starts on page 120, and there's 3 or 4 municipalities that have already done it.
Will do. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Cynthia, we're good to carry on?
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have adoption and carried resolutions from the May 10th Committee of the Whole. And the first one is motions A through to K. You do not have to read them all, unless someone wants to hear them all. It's 3 pages long. Has anybody gone through them, want to make any comments before we ask for the motion? Councillor Rossner, did you have, no? Okay. I don't see a hand. So Cynthia, you said just say as provided. Go ahead.
Okay, so it's moved by Councillor McCreary and seconded by Councillor Ossner that council adopt the following recommendations as listed in 6.1.1A through to K on the agenda as presented by Committee of the Whole dated May 10th, 2021. And that's as presented. Mayor Foxton, your vote for that?
Yes.
Councillor Roman?
Yes.
Councillor Ossner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
That carries.
Thank you. And next we have 6.2 in regards to the minutes.
Moved by Councillor Ossner, seconded by Councillor Gillespie, that council approve the following minutes. Regular council meeting minutes dated April 26, 2021, and Committee of the Whole minutes dated May 10th, 2021. Mayor Foxton, your vote for that?
Yes.
Councillor Roman?
Yes.
Councillor Ossner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
And that carries.
Thank you. And next we have the correspondence. Does anybody wish to speak to? I have several of them I'd like to bring up. Anybody else have any on correspondence? Councillor Ossner, which one?
7.9, please.
Mayor Foxton, we do have a motion prepared for each item individually. These are items for
Okay, so we start with 7.1. No comment. Councillor Gillespie, did you have for 7.1 or not? Okay, so we'll just pass 7.1 first. And that's regards to the electronic recycling containers, the operation practices of candidate sites, and future report regarding disposition of this matter, which is, go ahead.
So moved by Councillor Roloman and seconded by Councillor Gillespie that the correspondence from Chelsea Lilligard concerning the ability to operate an electronic recycling collection bin on township property be received, and that staff meet with Ms. Lilligard to discuss operational practices and candidate sites, and that staff return to council with a future report regarding the disposition of this matter. Mayor Foxton, your vote for that?
Yes.
Councillor Roloman?
Yes.
Councillor Ossner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
And Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
Okay, that carries.
Thank you. And the next one is in regards to the traffic, Clyde Road from Mr. Plandirada. So Councillor Gillespie, please, would you want to say anything?
Well, yes, I had requested that Patricia Haft come to a meeting. I just wondered what has happened with that. Quite a few residents of Clyde sent her an email. Now I have not received any feedback myself on it. So
okay. Did she not CC both of us on that email I sent to her?
well, I did get one back to say that she got a lot of responses, but that was about it. She didn't say anything about coming to the meetings.
I have to agree with you. I think that maybe we should be going to her boss and saying we need to deal with these issues. Lee has her hand up. Go ahead, Lee.
Through the mayor, I have spoken actually with the region in regards to this. Trish is actually working on a response to all of the residents. She received quite a few emails. So they're going through all of them. She is discussing it with her supervisors, et cetera, and they will be getting back to us. Ideally, I would prefer them to come to council in conjunction with our traffic calming policy because it really all ties in nicely together. So I think that I would like to delay that because really we don't want to be dealing with isolated instances across the municipality. Working in conjunction with our traffic calming policy and how the region and the township can work together, I think would be my recommended way of moving it forward. I expect the traffic calming policy to either be in July or in September, depending on how it all comes together, because I need to meet with the region as well to talk about when our municipal township roads intersect with regional roads and the process associated with that.
Is that okay, Councillor Gillespie?
Yes, I would just like to give people some information when they phone me, which they do every week, about speeding. So thank you.
So, yeah. Lee, please.
Through the mayor, with respect to that, the region is generating that response. The region asked me to remind the residents that last year they did put up those flexible things in the center of the road. I'm relaying the information that was provided to me, and that they intend to do it again this year. The region has asked that once we have acquired the new cameras, or the new speed cameras, that we place them there so that we can report back that information to them. They are also undertaking their own traffic counts as well as large vehicle counts out in that area. So the region is actually going to be monitoring stuff going forward as well.
If you could type up something for Councillor Gillespie to have that, she can email out every time that she gets a response. And also put on that same statement that you give her that there will be a meeting, the region will be coming to council to discuss, as you said, options and alternatives for traffic calming within the settlement areas. So if you could do that, that would be a great help too, right, Councillor Gillespie?
Yes, thank you.
Certainly, I'll take care of that.
Okay, if there's no other questions, then can I have the motion, please?
Moved by Councillor Gillespie and seconded by Councillor Rowland that the correspondence from George Pandria concerning the posted speed limit and the speed of vehicular traffic on Clyde Road through the settlement of area of Clyde be received, and that staff coordinate a meeting with the Region of Waterloo transportation personnel, Waterloo Regional Police Services, the mayor, and the Ward 4 Councillor Pam Gillespie to discuss the issues of speeding in Clyde and alternatives for traffic calming within the settlement area. Mayor Foxton, your vote for that?
Yes.
Councillor Rowland?
Yes.
Councillor Oster?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
That carries.
Thank you. And next we have the correspondence from Sue Weber regarding speed bumps on Patterson Drive and Vincent. No questions, no comments? All right, then can we have the motion, please?
Moved by Councillor Gillespie and seconded by Councillor Rowland that the correspondence from Sue Weber and the request for the provision of speed bumps on Patterson Drive and Vincent Drive be received, and that the consideration of speed bumps or alternative traffic calming measures for Patterson Drive and Vincent Drive be referred to staff and be assessed through the traffic calming policy, which is presently being developed. Mayor Foxton, your vote for that?
Yes.
Councillor Rowland?
Yes.
Councillor Oster?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
And Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
That carries.
Thank you. And Lee, you said we can expect this sometime in July or early fall? Thank you. Okay, the next we have is Stephanie Van de Ven regarding slow down signs. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, can I have the resolution, please?
Moved by Councillor Gillespie and seconded by Councillor Rowland that the correspondence from Stephanie Van de Ven and the request for slow down signage that would be posted on residential front yards be received, and that staff be directed to design and purchase up to 50 lawn signs at an upset cost of $500 to be funded from the council advertisement promotion account, and that the signs be distributed to interested members of the public on a first come, first served basis. Mayor Foxton?
Yes.
Councillor Rowland?
Yes.
Councillor Oster?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
That carries.
Thank you. And next we have the Indulge Hawaiian Shave Ice and Ice Cream.
Mayor Fox, I'm going to leave the meeting at this point.
Oh, of course. Thank you, Councillor Rowland. Are there any questions in regards to this? I don't see any. So it lays out where and the time locations. So you do not have to read it in its entirety. So continue, Ms. Sage.
It's moved by Councillor Gillespie and seconded by Councillor McCreary that the correspondence received from Dana and Steve Greer with Indulge Hawaiian Shave Ice and ice cream be received. And that's as presented as laid out in the resolution circulated to council. Mayor Foxton, your vote for that?
Yes.
Councillor Rowland is absent. And Councillor Oster?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yeah.
Sorry, Councillor
He
McCreary?
said yes.
Yes, okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
And that carries.
Cynthia, would you please allow Councillor Rowland back in?
Yes.
Maybe you took a bio break.
Okay, he's just coming in now.
Thank you. Welcome back, Councillor Rowland. Are you there? There we go. Thank you. Okay, the next one we have is the season fee reduction. Is there any questions or comments in regards to the fee reduction? Seeing none, can I have the resolution, please?
Moved by Councillor Gillespie and seconded by Councillor Rowland that report number FIN-14-2021 be received and that council approve a fee amendment to the recreation user fees, Schedule A for Township Minor Sports Organization Soccer for season and Township's Minor Sport Organization softball for seasons in a prorated amount based on a weekly rate. And that bylaw number 3253-21 being a bylaw to further amend the 2021 fees and charges bylaw be enacted. Mayor Foxton?
Yes.
Councillor Rowland?
Yes.
Councillor Oster?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
And Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
That carries.
Thank you. And next we have the delegation requests. I don't see any questions, so the resolution, please.
Oh, Mayor
Okay,
Foxton.
CO McNeely, sorry.
So Madam Mayor, if there is no requests of council to have reservations with minister delegations at AMO, then the resolution would just be modified to read that the CA report 1421 be received.
Okay, how long do we have before the delegations? What's the deadline?
June 4th.
June 4th, so we're running right up against it. Okay, and don't see any in regards to, okay, then I guess it will read, what will it read, CO McNeely?
The recommendation then would be that CAO report 14-2021 be received.
Okay, thank you. Councilor McCreary. Where'd she go? There you are. Okay.
So we need to, if we want to have a delegation, we need to pick one of these items here or decide on something else and to submit, or we won't have a delegation at all. Is that what you're?
That's correct.
You're on mute, Andrew.
Madam Mayor, through to Councilor McCreary, that's correct. So staff put some suggested delegations in the report, just as a teaser. But yes, we need to file before June the 4th to be eligible for consideration for a delegation at the AMO conference in August.
Well, I would certainly support the request to speak to the Minister of Finance about the issues with farm taxation and the gravel.
That's coming under TAPMO. We're doing that as well. We can do it twice if you like. I'm going as TAPMO. We're speaking to the Minister of Finance for that. But our township can as well.
Okay, well, it was on, I'm suggesting that one. It is on the list here of items that we could pick from.
Yep, and I think it's a great idea. Was there any others? We have the brief for the farm tax one still, correct, CEO McNeely, from the past time? How can we word it better to have a better bang?
So we do have briefing papers ready with some minor tweaks related to both the assessment methodology for farmland and agribusinesses on farm land holdings. And we also have one related to aggregate operations and the methodology requests related to aggregate sites. And in both cases, we've got representative numbers as how it relates to the context of North Dumfries.
CEO McNeely, on the farm tax one, can we actually find examples so that we can say in this municipality, it's this, in this municipality, it's this, and this is how it impacts us. And also in the aggregate one, Pushlands won at LPAT. But they said my municipality must bring forward their claim as well. So we can use the municipality, we can use Pushlands win. I think the headlines of the newspaper said Pushlands owed millions of dollars in back taxes in regards to aggregate and the assessment. So if we can also tap into that and use that as well when we meet the minister. He was very receptive when I spoke to him.
Counterpart as to the numbers for Puslinch. Because I believe that number was applicable to all three funding sources, being school board, county, and Puslinch.
Right. So we would, yeah, so if we can tap those examples in, I think that's a great help to the minister. Now, Councilor McCreary, did you have any others?
No, let's just try for that one or two.
I think having the examples will really help us.
Yeah, those are quite specific to North Dumfries, where we have some examples particularly pertaining to us.
The minister's zoning thing, I talked to Councilor Rollerman about this, and we got that letter from the Blair Road people. And it doesn't impact us, but we really should watch it, because if they ever do straighten out Trustler Road over the 401 and the land to the west, after that 90-degree bend and you come back in, if that ever got developed, how would that impact our municipality? So we really should watch what's happening in the other site. And I've suggested to Councilor Rollerman, we do that because we just designated the Greenfield Road area. And so it would be a similar situation to what's going on there. So I think being observers is important in that situation. So we do want to then add to this amendment that, do we want to leave it the way it's delegations with provincial ministers at AMO? CEO McNeely?
So Madam Mayor, the clerk will make an adjustment to, as part of the second recital, we'll be identifying that staff coordinate two delegations dealing with farmland assessment methodology and for license aggregate operations.
Thank you.
And we'll make those we'll file those requests tomorrow with the province.
Thank you. So Ms. Sage, are you ready for the resolution?
Yes, so moved by Councillor Gillespie, seconded by Councillor Rollerman, that CAO report number 14-2021 be received, and that council direct staff to coordinate two delegations dealing with farmland assessment methodology and aggregate as a request to appear as a delegation with the provincial ministers. Mayor Foxton?
Yes.
Councillor Rollerman?
Yes.
Councillor Ossner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
That carries.
Thank you. Next is the proposed red line revision to the draft plan of the subdivision of the Bruce properties. Any comments on here, folks? I see Councillor Osner, and Councillor Roman. So Councillor Osner, you're first.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have a little bit of a concern. When I look at the attachment here that shows the red line, the changing, they're basically changing the lot lines on virtually everything, right? And my concern is when we talk about responsible development, it seems like they're cramming things in, and we all know there's no big secret they do that because it makes them more money. But then we have to deal with the fallout of all these crowded neighborhoods, poor development. I mean, we have our guidelines for a reason. These subdivisions are packed enough as it is, and now they want to pack them in more. I don't think that that's going to be conducive to moving in the future. I think we're just creating problems, and I think we need to look at this seriously before we decide we want to go ahead and pack more houses in there, because we have the same problem along Nith River Way, Hilltop, and where the school is, and with all the cars having to park on the street and all the traffic issues, and that they build their developments and then they move on, and we're to deal with the fallout. And if I remember correctly, one of their responses on one of the previous developments was, well, but that's a bylaw issue. That's your issue, not our issue. So yes, it's a bylaw issue, but now we're at the beginning of it. I'm not in favor of creating a bylaw issue. I'm not in favor of packing these places in so tight, because I think that it's not responsible and conducive to what we need to do. I'd actually like to see less units in there, not more.
Councillor Roman? You're on mute, Councillor Roman. There you go.
Oh, am I working now?
Yeah, there you go.
I'm just curious, so is this much different than the minor variance that they applied for previously? Or is this basically the same thing, just in a different way of handling it? Maybe the CEO can explain it.
CEO McNeely?
So, Madam Mayor, through to Councillor Roman, no, it is different. The minor variance application from October 2020 was to actually reduce the side yard setback on single detached dwellings. And it would have, if approved, in some instances would have reduced side yards down to 0.6 or 0.8 meters, down from the standard of 1.2 meters. So the minor variance did not increase the number of units, it just reduced the side yard setback for single detached dwellings. The red line revision, as Councillor Osner has quite correctly noted, is across the entire 20+ hectare property. And effectively what they've done is they have found efficiencies on a street block, and it has caused a slight adjustment across the street block for each of the lot lines that was originally shown in the draft plan. And when you look across a typical street block, they were able to pick up a lot here and there. Across the entire 20+ hectare development parcel, it translated into 9 extra lots. So in all cases, the current zone provisions that were approved by council approximately 2.5 years ago still are maintained. There's no relief being provided from those established zone standards. It is essentially a relotting, creating efficiencies across a typical street block. Net increase, 9 single detached lots.
Councillor McCreary?
To CAO McNeely through the mayor. When you're talking about finding efficiencies, what are you talking about? Can you elaborate a bit more on that?
So as an example, perhaps on a corner lot, they had perhaps a 5-meter setback where the zoning requires a 4.5 meter side yard setback adjacent the intersection. So they were able to pick up, in that example, let's say 0.5 meters. And they just worked their way down the length of a street block. And they were able to pick up 0.2 meters here, 0.3 meters there. And the net effect was, at the end of that street block, it totaled 11 meters or something greater as a sum. And so they were able to add an additional unit, single detached unit, along that street block. And so what they're seeking is a change to the lot fabric of the draft approved plan of subdivision to reflect those lotting efficiencies across the entire 20 plus hectare draft plan.
I'm going to let Councillor Gillespie go first because she hasn't spoke yet, then back to Councillor Ossner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just wondering if we say, no, you're not allowed to do this, are they going to come back with some other form of change to the whole process? Like, is it just going to be continual until they get their way?
So, Madam Mayor, through to Councillor Gillespie, in this example, the township is a commenting agency. The decision whether or not to approve the red line change rests with the region of Waterloo, as they're the approval authority for plans of subdivision. So the actual request for red line changes was filed with the region. I asked that it be brought back to Township Council so that Township Council could weigh in and provide their comments to the region.
So, Councillor Ossner, you were next. So you put your hand down. Are you done?
Yeah, I really have nothing further to add. I'm just mystified why they come up with a draft plan, spend all this time developing a draft plan, and then at this point of the stage now comes back for red line adjustments all the way through. I know where I stand on it, and if it's out of our hands and in the region's hands, then there's nothing left to discuss.
That's not true. The region may listen to what we had to say. I prefer to give the people the half-meter land and have it accumulated at the end to create a lot. But that's my point of view. Councillor Rowland.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I guess the only concern that I have is really with Leslie Davis Street, that being sort of basically a collector street. And you see on Leslie Davis on the map here, they're adding 2 or 3, it looks like one new lot on the north side, just east of Street A, and one new lot on the south side. So I'm wondering, will this create additional traffic, additional parking, additional problems on what's essentially a collector road? Whereas if you look at Street E and Street D, they're crescents. So if, you know, a few more lots back in there, I guess won't matter to through traffic. It will cause more of a problem for people who live there, because now there'll be more people parking on the street, parking on the boulevards, parking everywhere on the parking because of more lots. But Leslie Davis being a collector, is that more of a concern? That's really what I'm wondering, is because that Leslie Davis is going to connect that whole subdivision.
Yeah.
So Councillor Rowland is correct. The majority of the proposed new lots through the red line are oriented on the north-south streets. And truly, those are traffic for the most part on those streets would be localized to the homeowners that front onto those side streets. So you would have both low traffic volume, as well as, I would hope, respect for the speed limit, because literally you are driving past your neighbor's house to get to your house. Leslie Davis Street does serve the purpose of a minor mid-block collector. It does not, based on the traffic study, does not qualify as a collector by typical traffic generation. For the most part, we are toward the end of Leslie Davis Street because it's not proposed to continue any further to the east. It is designed to provide an outlet to Swan Street to the west through the Legacy subdivision. And obviously, the further west you would go along Leslie Davis Street and get closer to the Swan Street intersection, the amount of traffic by volume would increase. So there are two means primary of access off of Leslie Davis. One is to Swan Street through the Legacy subdivision, and the other would be the future Prince Philip Boulevard, which is in the approximate center of the Bruce subdivision and outletting southerly to the Brant Waterloo Road. I do not believe that Leslie Davis through the Bruce subdivision matches or mirrors Hilltop. I say that for two reasons. One, it's not connecting through to any outlet road like a Wrigley Road, Scott, and or Swan that we have on Hilltop. The other is we're dispersing the traffic over a greater number of side streets, which you don't have on Hilltop Drive. So while you've got a lot of residential units and it's residential traffic by nature, just by the lotting pattern, road distribution system, it is a different characteristic. The lots that we're talking about are 11 meters or wider in frontage. And the way we've designed those lots is the ability to park 3 to 4 vehicles on the private side to reduce the amount of curbside parking on those single detached lots. That doesn't mean there won't be curbside parking, but I'm just saying there's a better opportunity to provide parking on the private side by the way the lots have been distributed and the standards that we've enshrined in the zoning bylaw.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, can I have the resolution, please?
Moved by Councillor Gillespie, seconded by Councillor Rollman, that PD report number 33-2021 be received, and that the Region of Waterloo, being the approval authority for plans of subdivision, be advised that the township has no concerns with the red line revision for draft approved subdivision file number 30T-18301 with the proposed increase in the establishment of single detached lots from a yield of 312 to 321 lots, net increase of 9 single detached lots. Mayor Foxton?
Yes.
Councillor Rollman?
Mayor Foxton, though, for clarification, none of our comments tonight will make it into the report. Is that correct? Just the resolution?
If you, CEO McNeely will provide the region with feedback, but if I hear you tonight and you're against this, I will fight it at regional council. What's the density of this with the increase of the 9 lots? What's our density there? You're on mute. See.
I haven't done the density calculation, but the earlier draft, this is before the additional 9 units, was approximately 55 persons per net hectare. So that 55 persons is both residential and employment calculation.
Why in the report did I read 75 to, I've got to go back to this.
There's a medium density block, depending upon whether or not it's townhouses versus a low rise.
Understood then. If there's townhouses, that increases the density. Yep,
Correct.
understood.
Okay, so it's scalable, not knowing who or what the final end purchases is for that medium density block. And that's beside the storm pond in the southeast corner of the site.
Council, I will stand and fight whatever issue you need me to fight at the region. And they do listen. They really do listen. Doesn't know whether they'll change their minds, but they do listen.
Can we change the motion? Is that what would happen if we vote this down?
So you would defeat the motion as presented.
And then you can do a new
Council
vote.
would adopt whatever the new resolution is, and on carry of a majority, that would be the position of council, and it would be then forwarded off to the Region of Waterloo.
Okay, then I'm opposed.
Councillor Ossner?
Opposed.
Councillor McCreary?
Opposed.
Councillor Gillespie?
Opposed.
Okay, the motion's lost.
Okay, the new resolution. Can I have a recommendation for the new resolution? Councillor Roman.
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor. My only concern really, as I mentioned, is with that Leslie Davis. So I was wondering if we could just have it indicated that we're concerned with the increased density on the mid-block collector as the CEO described it. That's my concern. I don't know what the rest of council feels, but.
Let's have the discussion, folks, because that could have been an amendment to the original motion. Or that could have been, but let's have a discussion. What do you think, folks? I have Councillor Ossner's hand up.
My preference would be leave it as it was.
So you still want to defeat the motion, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else?
Just
Would
for
anyone-
clarity, I mean, leaving it the way the subdivision was before the red line adjustments.
Correct,
That's
correct. So defeating the red line adjustment. Is anyone willing to second? Councillor Gillespie, please.
I agree with Councillor Ossner, and I would second that.
No, he's not making a motion. He's saying leave the motion as defeated.
Yeah.
So if Councillor.
That's fine. No, you asked for any recommendations or motions,
Right,
so
well,
I'm putting that forward.
Right, you've already defeated the red line. So you don't need to do that again. It's already been defeated in its entirety. I need a seconder for the suggestion of Councillor Roman. If I do not have a seconder, then we stay with the motion being defeated. Councillor Gillespie, your hand's still up. Are you wanting to second the motion?
Sorry, no, I
Okay, then that means it's defeated. And that's the end of discussion. Okay, folks? And I have my information to go to the region. CEO McNeely, I'd like to know the density. If I can use that as ammunition, I'm not sure. You've got time to tell me. It doesn't have to be right now. And,
So I'll run the formula.
thank
So originally the region was going to deal with this at administrative level. I have to believe with the position taken by Township Council, it would get bumped up to a report to the regional council.
Even if it doesn't, they allow council to make special motions and special recommendations, and I will stand and make this recommendation at the next regional committee meeting with how my council feels about this decision. So if you can write me up something, CEO McNeely, with that, including the density issue, and we'll go from there. All right, so I have my walking papers from you guys. Thank you, folks. Next is pre-servicing agreement for the Bruce. Any questions or comments on that? Seeing none, can I have the motion, please?
Moved by Councillor Gillespie and seconded by Councillor Roman, that report number PD-34-2021 be received, and that an amendment to the pre-servicing agreement to accommodate the installation of underground services affecting Phase 1A development lands, subdivision file number 30T-18301, owned by 2081788 Ontario Corporation and the Township of North Dumfries be approved, subject to any minor revisions as required by the Township Solicitor and/or the Chief Administrative Officer, and that bylaw number 3254-21 being a bylaw to authorize the Mayor and Clerk to execute an amendment to the pre-servicing agreement, Phase 1A, to facilitate the installation of underground servicing between 2081788 Ontario Corporation and the Township of North Dumfries be enacted. Mayor Foxton?
Yes.
Councillor Roman?
Yes.
Councillor Ossner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
yes.
And that carries.
Thank you. CEO McNeely, the next regional committee day is June 1st, so if I could have that by June 1st, and I will bring it up then. Thank you. And next we have the request for a three-way stop at Northumberland Street in Broome. Any comments, questions? Councillor Roman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It is getting more and more difficult to cross Northumberland Street at certain times of day. I know Guthrie Street's pretty tough sometimes coming out of work at 4 o'clock. At the Foodland, the first Greenfield Road, was it east, is pretty tough. And I know Broome and Nith River are getting very, very bad as well. Is there any plan from the region to put in any traffic lights along any of these places? If we had even a signalized traffic intersection at Broome maybe, or at Greenfield, something has to be done in the long term, especially as we get this new subdivision over here at the Furlands built. The Gore now is starting to get filled up. So traffic's becoming more and more of a problem on the street. And I don't think a three-way stop is going to be sufficient. I think we have to look beyond that, either a roundabout or a signal or something.
I've asked for lights at Greenfield and Northumberland several times. They will wait to see. CEO McNeely, you had your hand up, and then I may ask Lee Robinson to comment as well.
So Madam Mayor, through to Councillor Rollman, there is nothing in the 5-year capital plan of the region with respect to either a roundabout and or signalization along the Northumberland corridor north of the CP rail tracks through to Greenfield Road West. This year, later this year, the region is undertaking capital improvements to Northumberland Street, generally from the CP rail corridor northerly to and just past the Broome Street intersection. The purpose of that reconstruction is to add northbound designated left turn lane into the redevelopment of the Schneider Meats property, as well as a continued left turn onto a dedicated left turn onto Broome Street. And then the road would then transition back to its normal 2-lane structure north of Broome Street. But that's the extent of the capital improvements as shown by the region in the 5-year capital plan. We do know that the region does undertake periodic traffic counts, which they obviously then assess traffic volumes, and they forecast based on approvals, additional traffic over a period of time to the future. And from that, they look at lane improvements, intersection improvements, which could include, as I just referenced, dedicated left turn lanes, and or in some instances, traffic signals or equivalent to allow for the efficient movement of traffic at key pinch points. But right now, there's nothing in the 5-year beyond what I just referenced for that section adjacent to Broome Street and south to the CP rail corridor.
Hey guys, I just wanted to clarify my comment. It's not just vehicles, it's also pedestrians crossing. There's a lot of kids crossing now, going up the skate park, they're going down, crossing over at the curling club, and then crossing, coming up here onto Melair Drive and going down to the skate park. As we know from the region, talk to the region in Roseville, they didn't have any concern as to how to cross the street to get to our community center in Roseville. So I don't have a lot of faith in what the region says with these traffic studies. We need to find a way to protect our citizens, our residents, and so they can safely cross the streets, and the region just isn't getting it done.
CEO McNeely.
So Madam Mayor, I don't know, 18 months ago, 2 years ago, council wanted a crosswalk put in place. We do staff the crosswalk at Broome, Northumberland when the school is open, and it's at the beginning and ending periods of the school day, and obviously during the school year. At that time, we asked that analysis be undertaken in support of a pedestrian activated crosswalk at Northumberland. And the analysis at that point in time did not support a signalized crosswalk.
Lee, do you have any suggestions?
Through the mayor, I'm not sure about suggestions. However, one of the interesting things, as I've reported previously to council, is we now have the ability to install some of the traffic cameras to record information, which will also allow us to record some vehicular movements for vehicular counts on regional roads, just with a notification process. So we no longer require the region's approval to install them. We just need to let them know that we're doing that. So as soon as those are purchased, we will be rolling them out. There are several regional roads that, based on my brief time here with the township, I am not sure that some of the historical counts are accurate. based on the traffic movements that I'm seeing. And it would be nice to have some additional information to support that. Going forward as well, I have been requesting for some of our development, some traffic impact studies and statements, etc. A traffic impact study can be as simple as a paragraph signed by an engineer for a site plan, because there's not a huge impact to it, to a 17 binder report, depending on the extent of the development and all that sort of stuff. So one of the requirements that I've been putting forward as part of development going forward is looking at traffic beyond the limits of their development and how it impacts them. So as more development continues to go, that we are asking for professional opinions from traffic engineers to be able to assist with that. I believe that by using the equipment that council approved in this year's budget, we'll be able to get some more accurate traffic data on a collection and a going forward basis to help us articulate our concerns perhaps a little bit better to the region and provide some justification for our statements. It's hard to anecdotally constantly say that we believe this and we think this. If we have some of that information to be able to provide it to the region, it assists us in actually moving things forward. And we are in control of that information.
Thank you. Councilor Coleman, you said exactly what I was going to say. I'm glad they're putting left chain lanes in, but that doesn't help any child crossing that road. Makes it worse because a person's going to making their left as quickly as possible. And with they're watching oncoming traffic, they're not watching the child behind that's trying to cross. So, guys, I need, number one, I need the number increase in residents in our community. I need your information, Lee. I think we should be going for a stoplight at Greenfield East and Northumberland. I don't know what to do with Northumberland and Broome. What would you suggest there? Any suggestions?
My recommendation would be to allow myself a little bit of time to gather some data and get some more information and get a better handle on it, and then I'll be able to make some recommendations for what I think that we should be doing or steps that we can take to help move this forward and help assist the region in moving these sorts of things forward. I believe that likely we have regional roads through smaller villages / hamlets, which is really not the typical function of a regional road. It doesn't usually go through this. And I believe that historically the region has been looking at these as what I would consider to be an arterial road. By using them as an arterial road, these sorts of concerns that we have don't really get taken into consideration. And we need to start looking at that, but we need to provide some data and some information. If you look even to our neighbors to the south, you look at Grand River Street North through downtown Paris. Very busy road. The county has spent an awful lot of time and money doing things to encourage the pedestrian movement, ensure safe pedestrian movement while still ensuring the safe vehicular traffic and not impeding the flow of traffic. There are absolutely engineering solutions to these problems, but we do need to gather a little bit of information so that we are able to articulate it and actually demonstrate our actual concerns.
Thank you, Lee. You sounded very professional. I'm impressed. And I hope to hear something from you soon so that we can move forward. And I will fight whatever fight I have to fight. Councilor Coleman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To follow up on Lee's comments, and I think the CEO mentioned it earlier, but I think a pedestrian island, or what they call it, pedestrian refuge island, serves two purposes. It allows the people to have a place to sort of, be safe from the traffic for a few seconds. But I think also it sort of slows traffic down because they realize there's something happening at this intersection. We've seen that coming into air on Swan Street. People coming into air, they see those pedestrian islands now. Some people don't like them, I get it, but you know what? It does slow people down, and they do think about it. I think a pedestrian island there would be a great thing. I think it would slow traffic and it would help people cross the street.
Great suggestion, Councilor Roman. So in this resolution, so it says that review the options to improve the pedestrian movements across Northumberland Street at that intersection. Yeah, so we're good with this. We're ready to go. Councilor McCreary, you had your hand up for a minute. You okay? You had it up a while ago.
Yeah, I think I just answered my own question. I figured out the answer. Lee was talking about cameras, and she was not talking about like the speed enforcement cameras. These are just the cameras that collect the data when the car drove by and how fast the car was going. That's what we're getting more of those. Okay. And a comment about what's gone on in Roseville. I think Lee's absolutely right that the region just thinks of that they were thinking of just moving cars. How do we move the cars through Roseville? The idea that there was a community center there and a restaurant and a church and children moving around and pedestrians really wasn't something that they were really willing to take into consideration. We really had to fight, I guess, just to get the pedestrian island in front of the community center. So yeah, that is definitely a problem.
So go to work, Lee. Thank you. And can I have the resolution, please?
Certainly. So moved by Councillor McCreary and seconded by Councillor Ossner, that the correspondence from Amanda Cahan concerning the installation of the three-way stop or pedestrian crossing signal at Broome Street, Northumberland Street intersection be received, and that staff coordinate a meeting with the Region of Waterloo transportation personnel, Waterloo Regional Police Services, the Mayor, and the Ward 2 Councillor Derek Ossner to review the options and alternatives to improve pedestrian movements across Northumberland Street at this intersection. Mayor Foxton, your vote for that?
Yes.
Councillor Rowland?
Yes.
Councillor Ossner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
That carries.
Thank you. And next we have the techno block. Any comments or questions, Councillor McCreary? No, is that, go ahead.
Yeah, to CEO McNeely through the mayor. The holdup with the site plan and the building permit, it seems to be the access driveway design. Is that what's holding this whole thing up? And what is going on with that access driveway?
You're on mute.
Madam Mayor, through to Councillor McCreary, you're quite correct. It is what's holding up the site plan is the final sign-off design for the interim access driveway from Teco Block onto the Cedar Creek corridor. There has historically been an access driveway onto the Teco Block property. However, it was designed for turning movements of trucks that were generally defined as triaxle dump trucks. The Teco Block industry, by movement of materials, raw materials into the site for processing, and the traffic exiting with finished block type pavers, will largely be in the form of highway tractor trailers. As such, there's a different turning alignment between the different vehicle classifications, a triaxle versus the highway tractor trailer unit. The initials, the designs put forward in terms of the turning radii put forward by the consulting team has a conflict with an overlap for effective movements between the traffic leaving the 401 off-ramp onto the Cedar Creek corridor with the turning movement coming out of the Teco Block site. And so the ministry believes it can be addressed, but as we speak today, those design drawings to their satisfaction have not been submitted. Those final approved drawings will actually form schedules to the site plan control agreement, because we've got provisions in the site plan control agreement that talk about the future retirement of that access driveway once Street 1 in the adjacent Millgate subdivision is constructed and a public highway is created. At that point in time, all vehicular access to the Teco Block site will come off that new subdivision road to the immediate east, immediate west of the Teco Block property. So it's a matter of timing. The ministry is agreeable to allow for the continuation of building above the foundation wall. They believe a solution can be found for that interim driveway And on that basis, they're agreeable to allow the next phase of building to continue. However, they don't want any occupancy of the building until such time as those drawings for the interim access have been approved and the site plan control agreement is executed and put into full force and effect.
Okay, so this driveway is taking so long to determine is actually a temporary driveway that will just be in place until the rest of the industrial area is complete.
Correct, because the Teco Block property by title is separate from the adjacent Millgate subdivision holdings.
Mhm.
From an aggregate perspective, they read as one, but they're actually two different properties in title. Both have bona fide development applications. Teco Block is their manufacturing facility. Millgate is a proposed plan of subdivision, creating industrial lots with a new north-south cul-de-sac at the intersection. And so the intent is once Millgate is developed and Street 1 is commissioned as a public highway, the interim access driveway to Teco Block will be decommissioned and they'll gain their access off the new subdivision road.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Do we have to make the Ashley read the thing in its entirety? It's only 2 paragraphs. So go ahead, Ms. Sage. We're giving you a break on a few of the others.
So moved by Councillor McCreary and seconded by Councillor Ossner, that building report number 03-2021 be received, and that an amendment to the conditional building permit agreement for the proposed Teco Block manufacturing processing facility be adopted to facilitate the construction of the superstructure of the building above the footing foundation walls, with the provision that the township will not grant occupancy for the proposed manufacturing processing facility until such a time as the site plan control agreement is executed, which is tied to the Ministry of Transportation identifying satisfaction with the access driveway design for the Teco Block facility. And that council authorize the mayor and clerk to execute an amendment to the conditional building permit agreement between Teco Block and the Township of North Dumfries to facilitate the construction of the superstructure of the building above the footing foundation walls, with the provision that the township will not grant occupancy for the proposed manufacturing processing facility, subject to any minor revisions as required by the township solicitor or the chief administrative officer. Mayor Foxton, your vote for that?
Yes.
Councillor Ruhlman?
Yes.
Councillor Ossner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
That carries.
Thank you. Next, we go into correspondence. I have 3 items. Does anyone else have any items in correspondence they want to bring forward? Okay, the first one I have is 9.1.4. It's a resolution received from the town of Perth regarding provincial hospital funding of major capital equipment. Now, as you heard me talk earlier to CMH in regards to this, maybe it is time that we do approach the province and say, you know what, this needs to be funded at a provincial level, because hospitals deal with everybody that comes through that municipality, or in emergency situations, we take over the overflow. How do you councillors feel? Do you feel that we would do this? Councillor Gillespie?
Yes, I agree that we should support that wholeheartedly, because we all know how expensive it is, and it's very hard to fundraise all that money within the community. So I agree, we should support it.
Councillor McCreary?
I agree that we should support it because healthcare is the province's responsibility. And in a way, by not funding something major like equipment, they're in a sense downloading it on us, because these foundations are going to keep coming to us, and they'll have to come to us continuously because equipment becomes obsolete, it wears out, population increases, and we need more equipment. So I really think this is a kind of a way of downloading provincial responsibilities on a municipality.
And Councillor?
I agree with the rest of the councillors. I think we should endorse this letter from Perth. COVID-19 has shown us that the ER is not our ER. We don't own it. Yet the province wants to have it both ways. They want us to fund it and fund all the equipment in there. But when an emergency comes around, guess what? They want to take control of the ER, which is, the way it should be, absolutely. But maybe they should look at the funding model and say, this isn't really fair. As you said, it's province-wide. Everyone comes to this hospital, and there's no barriers to entering that hospital based on who fundraised for it. So I think we should definitely support this.
Thank you. So if no one's in disagreement, then CEO McNeely, would we type up our own, or would we just do a mimic of Perth?
So, Madam Mayor, in the interest of time and for simplicity, the resolution would be simply framed that the correspondence and resolution from the town of Perth regarding provincial hospital funding of major capital equipment be endorsed.
Perfect, thank you. The next one I wanted to ask for endorsement was the tax breaks for the 2020 CERB payments. If you read that correspondence, there was a tax break for the first part, but the province hasn't put it into the second part. Nobody's getting rich off these CERBs. So I wanted to endorse the Township of McKellar in regards to this. How do people feel about it? Yes, no? Do you want to research in it a little more, find out a little more about it before we endorse it? What are your thoughts? Councilor McCreary.
Isn't this a federal issue, federal income tax issue?
Yes, it would be.
It would be the Department of Finance and Canada Revenue Agency.
Correct.
So I don't know what the policy is, what the research is that they've done behind this. I think I would need to have a little bit more information before I would endorse this.
And can we have staff look into that? Is that okay, CEO McNeely? And advise us?
So, Madam Mayor, 2020 income taxes were actually due earlier this month. I'm not too sure at this point in time in the calendar what this would mean in terms of the federal government rolling back what has already been taxed and filed through individual income statements that were due May 1st.
Okay, so you say it doesn't make a lot of sense, except that hopefully people that are on a tight situation aid to support local business and economic recovery. So it's businesses as well, right? Whereas the city of Kitchener is prepared to, okay, that's the wrong one. I'm in the wrong resolution. Okay, so, but if they are being taxed, if they're already in a tight situation and then they're being taxed on top of that and they've already have to pay it, I will bow to the wishes. Do we want to, Christine, can you look into this for us and give us better clarification? Thank you. I may be off base on that one. The next one I wanted to do was the Woolwich one and supporting the school bus, the promise to speed up the process for installation of stop arm cameras to improve the safety of our students while using the transportation provided by us. So that was 9.1.10. And that was the Township of Woolwich. So how do we feel about endorsing this, folks? Anybody against endorsing it?
No, I'm okay with it.
Okay, so CEO McNeely, the same as the other one. We will just endorse this one. Thank you. Okay, so then the resolution for the correspondence will read as it is, with the exceptions of council will endorse 9.1.4, 9.1.10, and look into 9.1.9. Okay, Ashley? And you don't have to read it in its entirety, you just, those revisions. So can I have the motion, please?
Moved by Councillor Gillespie and seconded by Councillor Rollman that council receive the following items, 9.1.1 through to 9.1.10, with the exclusion of 9.1.4, 9.1.9, and 9.1.10.
And, okay, then do we speak about endorsing those? The 2 out of the 3?
I can add a second provision, and that township council endorse the resolutions as outlined in 9.1.4, 9.1.9, and 9.1.10.
No, we're not endorsing 1.1.9. We're researching 9.1.9, and we're endorsing 9.1.10.
Okay, so that'll be as noted then in as a second provision in the resolution.
Thank you.
Sorry. Which ones are we supporting again?
We're supporting the school bus and the hospital.
So that's,
So 9.1.4 is the hospital
okay,
and 9.1.10 is the school bus.
gotcha. Thank you.
And we're getting more information on 9.1.9. Okay, then ask for the vote. Ashley?
Mayor Foxton,
Yes.
Councillor Rollman,
Yes.
Councillor Ossner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie,
Yes.
that carries.
Thank you. And next we have the Township Advisory Committees. And I just have one question on 9.2.3, the Heritage Advisory Committee. It says here, Bicentennial Advisory Committee, has it been appointed?
No, Madam Mayor, the close of receipt of applications has just occurred this week,
Okay.
sorry, last week. So we'll be bringing an in-camera report to the June 14th meeting for council to consider potential candidates for appointment to that committee.
Thank you. So can I have the motion, please, Ms. Sage?
So moved by Councillor Ossner and seconded by Councillor Gillespie that council receive for the purposes of information the following items. Strategic Shareholders Advisory Committee minutes dated April 7th, April 21st, and May 5th of 2021. The Leisure and Lifestyle Advisory Committee minutes dated February 17th and April 28th of 2021. The Heritage Advisory Committee minutes dated February 25th and April 22nd, 2021, and the Planning and Sustainable Development Advisory Committee minutes dated April 14th, 2021. Mayor Foxton, your vote for that?
Yes.
Councillor Rollman,
Yes.
Councillor Ossner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie,
Yes.
that carries.
Thank you. And next, we will see the other agenda minutes. Minutes, please.
Moved by Councillor McCreary, seconded by Councillor Rollman, that council receive for the purposes of information the following items. Region of Waterloo minutes dated April 21st, 2021. Grand River Conservation Authority minutes dated February 26th, 2021. The Grand River Accessibility Advisory Committee minutes dated April 22nd, 2021. And the Library Committee minutes dated April 6th, 2021. Mayor Foxton,
Yes.
Councillor Rollman,
Yes.
Councillor Ossner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie,
Yes.
that carries.
Thank you. Now, Councillor Rollman on item 10 wanted to speak on an issue regarding the boulevards along Northumberland Street. So you're on deck, Councillor Rollman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was in contact with a few different residents this week who are asking me now that now the snow has finally melted, that the boulevards along the construction areas on Northumberland Street look a little rough. Some of them were, I think, maybe run over by snow plows. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with them, but they're wondering, does the region have a plan to repair those, the sod basically in those boulevards, and when will that be done?
Theo McNeely.
Madam Mayor, through to Councilor Roman, I'm assuming we're talking in the downtown area from, I'll say, generally Manly, southerly to the bridge, the outlet of Watson Pond. So there are a series of deficiencies with that project, and one is the restoration of the boulevards. So the region will be requiring the contractor to return to the site. Some of the landscaping hasn't been finished. Certainly there's been damage to the boulevard, and that has to be restored. And there's some other deficiencies with the road and sidewalk itself.
CEO McNally, you'll keep us abreast of what's happening with that, please.
Yes, I've asked the region for a timetable. I don't have one.
I could always nag, should you?
Because, I mean, the reality is I'm concerned about someone twisting their ankle given some of the ruts. And that's what I've tried to impress upon them.
Thank you. If you would provide me some information for that, again, I will use it on June 1st at the regional council meeting. Next is Councillor Osner. You have regarding umbrellas for tables in the Cenotaph Urban Plaza. Your umbrella.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Foxton. So we've had a little bit of an issue, several complaints from one business owner directed at the restaurant on the corner, because what he's doing is he was putting his umbrellas onto the Urban Plaza tables that were there. And he was putting 3 of them out. So it wasn't just for himself to sit out there, but and it actually looks quite nice. However, this particular business owner that didn't like the idea of beer umbrellas being down there, and you know, I guess to his defense, that might be correct. I mean, beer umbrellas are all over every city, but anyway, certain people might not find that attractive. So I was thinking that I wondered if we could have Township North Dumfries umbrellas fabricated for the tables that require that have the holes in the middle for the umbrellas. We have no shade downtown. There's always a lot of kids down there eating pizza. Gus and Guido's gives them, you know, some food and stuff like that. When I've seen them give kids food down, they sit there and eat. And actually, it's Gus and Guido. It's Steve that cleans up after them, because a lot of the kids are not. So he actually takes care of that area when it comes to the food and stuff like that. I know we had a cigarette butt issue. I hope that rectified itself. But anyway, long story short, I was wondering if council would support the township looking into getting some nice Township of North Dumfries umbrellas for the tables, so that residents that are coming downtown have somewhere to sit in a shaded area.
Any questions or thoughts, councillors? I love the idea. Any other thoughts, councillors? Councillor Rowland is nodding yes. So would you like to create a resolution, Councillor Austin? You're muted, Councillor Austin.
I just muted myself when I tried to unmute myself. Yeah, like I'd like to put a motion forward if the rest of council would agree to look into getting that done for the summer.
All right, and I'm gonna have a seconder, please. Councillor Rowland seconded, and Ms. Sage, when you're ready with the motion. Did we lose Ms. Sage? I don't have Ms. Sage.
Yeah, we did. So I'll jump in. So don't mind
Thank
me.
you. Cynthia, can you create that motion, please?
Yeah.
CEO McNally. Oh, Cynthia, go ahead.
Nope, go ahead, Andrew.
So, Madam Mayor, through to Councillor Ostner, is your request to actually move ahead and acquire township logo umbrellas for the Urban Cenotaph, or are you asking staff to return with a proposal for the consideration of council?
I'm asking for the purchase.
Okay.
And I understand that we have to consider the fact that we may have to have staff take them down in the evenings or take care of them so that they're not like they'd have to be locked in, obviously, but I mean, just wind them down at in the evening time.
Well, actually, the other alternative would be to buy the fiberglass ones, which are molded, and you can leave them up for the entire season. And, you know, in late October, you take them down, store them, and you return them the following spring, and they're there for the rest of the season for the next calendar year.
As long as they're, oh, I'm sorry, Mary Fox.
No, I was just going to ask Councillor Ossner and Councillor Wollerman, would you allow a friendly amendment that would state that staff look into the purchase of the molded umbrellas, come back with council at our next meeting, and should it be a good feasible rate, we go ahead with it then? Or do you want to go straight to the purchase
Well,
without knowing costs?
I don't know what these molded umbrellas look like. I don't want it to look as per se, not industrial, but I don't want it to look, I want them to look nice and suit the urban plaza. I don't want them to look boring or whatever. I don't want anything extravagant, but it'd be nice to have some color there. I don't know about the molded ones, but I just don't want this to drag out till, you know, by the time we order them, we get them in August and we've got them for a few weeks and then
That's
it's,
a good point. That's
you
a
know.
good point. CEO McNeely, how would you recommend we move forward with this?
So if council's interested in things happening quickly, then you'd go with the traditional cloth umbrellas, similar to what you'd have in your backyard. I don't know about the practicality of having an existing, you know, I'll call it off the shelf umbrella, than having the township logo or crest put on it. I don't think that's practical. It would be a special order. And the moment you start talking about special orders, you're talking quite a delivery time for that, because it's a special order. If council's interest is to get something up this summer, then you would go with the typical colored umbrellas, and perhaps you look at a more consistent campaign for 2022 if you want to go with the alternative as a go forward. Because the reality is these canvas type umbrellas aren't going to last very long anyways. The wear and tear of today's weather and the intensity of sunlight causes them to fade very quickly. And of course, they're vulnerable to tears because of wind and things like that.
Thank you. I was just going to echo what the CEO was saying. Right now, with all the restaurants requiring patios outside, it's very difficult to get any kind of umbrella. So if we could find something that we could use, you know, even just for this year, and then maybe staff could give us a long-term, idea of what we could do with those fiberglass ones or something more permanent down the road. So that way, Councilor Ossner, you know, he's right. You don't want to wait until August to get these things. If we could find something, and maybe we could ask Steve at Gus and Guido's if he could take care of them for us, and maybe he would do that. Who knows? And just have 3 nice umbrellas, you know, the canvas style ones. If we can find some anywhere, they're really, really hard to find right now. And then maybe going forward, we can find something more permanent.
Councilor Ossner. Where'd you go here?
I'm sorry, I'm shutting that off at the same time. Yeah, I think I realize that, you know, nothing moves fast at COVID. So if we could get find some sort of canvas ones and get them as soon as we can. And I mean, they don't have to be just for this year. We can use them until they wear out, and then maybe in a couple of years or whatever, we can go to a more permanent one. You know, I don't want to rush and buy something and then just throw it out, because we're going to put a higher quality one, and we can use them as long as, I mean, the canvas ones, the beer ones, I mean, I have mixed feeling. I understand it's township property, but at the same time, it was providing for residents, and I did see a lot of people sitting under them, and one, like I said, a particular business owner just didn't think that was a very professional look on township property. So I'm trying to kind of appease everybody here. So if that's the way to go, then I'm good with that. If staff can see if they can find some canvas ones.
Cynthia, do you have the motion? And could you read it to Ms. Sage? Or Ms. Sage, do you have the motion?
Yes, no, Cynthia's just sent it over to me, so I do have it.
So do you want to read it, please, again?
Moved by Councillor Ossner, seconded by Councillor Rollman, that council directs staff to look into the purchase of canvas umbrellas for the tables in the Cenotaph Urban Plaza.
Okay.
Sorry, Mayor Foxton.
Look into the purchase, or are we actually saying staff to purchase?
That's what I would like clarification. I understand staff
It's to purchase, I believe.
acquire the canvas umbrellas for this year. We'll look at an alternative for future years and report back to council in due course.
Okay. So it is to purchase.
Correct.
Thank you. Ms. Sage, as you can take the vote now.
Certainly, Mayor Foxton,
Yes.
Councillor Rollman,
Yes.
Councillor Ossner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie,
Yes.
that carries.
Thank you. Now, before we move into closed, I want to ask if Irene Adney has any questions before we go into close. CEO McNeely?
Madam Mayor, Ms. Adney and I have just been in email communication. She has no questions. I will be forwarding her Lee's report as it relates to traffic calming when it's available, but she has no other questions.
Thank you. Councillor Ossner, did you have your hand up?
Oh, yeah, I was just wondering, are we doing the bylaws first or?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss Ms. Adney before, because the bylaw goes right into closed then. So can I have first and second reading of the bylaws, please? And you do not have to read it in its entirety, Ms. Sage.
So moved by Councillor Gillespie and seconded by Councillor McCreary that the following bylaws be taken as read a first and second time and as presented on the agenda top sheet. Mayor Foxton,
Yes.
Councillor Rollman,
Yes.
Councillor Ossner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie,
Yes.
that carries.
And the third reading, please, same as before, you do not have to read it in its entirety.
Moved by Councillor Rollman and seconded by Councillor Ossner that the following bylaws be taken as read a third time and finally passed, and that's as presented in the agenda top sheet. Mayor Foxton,
Yes.
Councillor Rollman,
Yes.
Councillor Ossner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie,
Yes.
that carries.
Thank you. And now council will move into closed session at 9:06. I have, Ms. Sage?
Yes, 9:06. So moved by Councillor Rollman and seconded by Councillor Ossner that council move into a closed meeting session at 9:06 p.m. under the Municipal Act Section 239, subsection 2, subsection I and K to discuss 1, report number CAO-13-2021, a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board, which if disclosed could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group of persons, or organization. Municipal Act Section 239, subsection 2, subsection I, and a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. Municipal Act Section 239, subsection 2, subsection K. Mayor Foxton,
Yes.
Councillor Rollman,
Yes.
Councillor Ossner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
and Councillor Gillespie.
Yes.
Okay, that carries.
Thank you. And Ms.